I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rippin' Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rippin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness, this is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup. We're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, February the 23rd, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, tonight we are digging down deep into the state of mystery that is North Dakota. That's right. From cryptids that are out of place to the ghosts that haunt the place. This is going to be, like every state of mystery, a very exciting episode. And we're going to dig into all that and more here in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and see who all we have over here in our YouTube chat rooms, both on the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show as well as the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channels. How you guys doing over here tonight? JoJo's checking in with the waving hands in the DarkWolf's Den show. Great to see everybody here. Quite a bit of good chat going on already. Red Bully Hype, there's a name I haven't seen in quite a while. Glad to see you, Red Bully. Hey, Jay. What's up, Jay? Glad to see you, my friend. He says, had to spend my birthday with you, rabbits. Well, happy birthday, Jay. From all of us here at the DarkWolf's Den Show, we're honored that you would spend your weekend, your birthday weekend, here with us. Shannon SL311, glad to see you. Also, glad to have you guys along for the ride in the DWD show. Shout out to all you guys over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. Checking in at the top is X-Gen. Says, hello, evening, fellow travelers. Evening, X-Gen. Glad to have you here. Maggie's Ace says, how Maggie's Ace. Prairie Fire in the house. Glad to see you, Prairie. AJ the Rippin' Rabbit himself checking in. Said the weekend is about to begin. Yes, sir, we are kicking it off right. Sandy B, so I have to clear something up real quick. AJ messed up and did use the wrong graphic originally. It was North Carolina on the original graphic. Now the graphic is showing North Dakota. It's not a Mandela effect, I promise you. It was just the wrong graphic. I think the timing of when I said something in chat has made a couple people curious as to what's actually going on. Guideline Strike, glad to see you here. Errol Taylor, as well as Man Danny Mull. Terry Taggart checking in the house. Hey, Terry, glad to see you. Man, there's a lot of good conversation going on here. A lot of conversation about stuff going on around the world, and everybody's got their own feelings about that. The only thing I've got to say about everything going on around the world is, well, honk, honk. And whether you are listening on YouTube or around the world on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the rippinrabbithole.com, or on the replays on BitChute or Rumble, we're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride. And before we do hop on this paranormal ride that is the state of mystery of North Dakota, we have two more fun little segments to do, the first of which we call Today in History. On this day in 1940, the first ever release of the Walt Disney movie that taught us to let our conscience be our guide. That's right, Walt Disney's Pinocchio is released on this day in 1940, and that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today comes from St. Augustine of Hippo. He says, and I quote, "The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend itself," end quote. And I think a lot of truth needs to be let loose up on today's world. That is just my opinion, but that quote was from St. Augustina Hippo, and that is today's segment of
Say what?
And the lion of truth is one thing this wolf is always chasing, that's for sure, and we are going to chase it tonight into the great state of North Dakota and find out what kind of paranormal mysteries this state holds. So as we do every week, we are going to start off with our cryptids tonight, and our first cryptid is coming to us from the Dakota Sioux tribe. It's called the Mini-Washitu.
The Mini-Washitu. Mini-Washitu, also known as the Missouri River Monster, haunts the banks of the river as it courses through North and South Dakota. It is said that in the long ago, there was a mysterious being within the stream of the Missouri River. It was seldom seen by human beings and was most dreadful to see. It is said that sometimes it was seen within the water in the middle of the stream, causing a redness shining like the redness of fire as it passed up the stream against the current with a terrific roaring sound. Though rarely spotted by humans, any sighting of Mini-Washitu ends in tragedy. Those who Mini-Washitu sees and lets escape with their life are forever haunted by his horrible image and eventually go mad.
Wasn't that the plot of a recent movie? These creatures, if you looked up on them, you'd go mad and die? I don't know, I don't watch movies. The plot point sounds kind of familiar, but this seems to be based on a real case file. This Mini-Washitu case file from the Dakota Sioux nonetheless. And this creature, once we get to the description here, you'll find is pretty darn ugly for sure.
They will writhe as though in a horrific pain, eventually seeking death to relieve them of their pain and insanity. And it is said that one time, not a very great many years ago, this frightful being was seen by a man, and he told how it appeared. He said that it was of strange form and covered all over with hair like a buffalo, but red in color, and that it had only one eye in the middle of its forehead, and above that, a single horn. Its backbone stood out notched and jagged, like an enormous saw. As soon as the man beheld the awful sight, everything became dark to him, he said. He was just able to reach home, but he lost his reason, and soon after that, he died.
That sounds incredibly scary. It kind of reminds me of the one-eyed, one-horned purple people eater. But this is a one-eyed, one-horned red people scarer, I guess. Scare all the way to death. Anyway, this is a creature that definitely scares me because I'm an inquisitive person, so to lay my eyes upon something and go insane, that wouldn't be good. But then again, it brings a question. If they go insane, then can we trust their description of the creature to begin with, or is that part of the insanity?
Stories of Mini-Washitu predate European settlement in America, and stories are still told of him today. Mini-Washitu travels upstream in springtime, breaking apart the ice on the Missouri River, keeping those who know of this monster far away from the dangerous banks.
So if you find yourself swimming in North Dakota, do make sure you watch out for the Mini-Washitu. But our next creature on the list is called the Thunder Horse, and this is a really interesting story when it comes to cryptozoological creatures. When it comes to cryptozoology in general, everyone has their own personal opinion on what is and is not considered a cryptid. Some believe the creature in question has to be monstrous in size, terrifying in appearance, and have had numerous sightings and encounters before it can be considered a true cryptid. Others feel the real cryptids are elusive animals that skirt the border between the real and the supernatural. The creatures that never seem to age and are responsible for the same kind of sightings for well over 100 years or more. But then there are the realists, the ones who feel that a cryptid is simply a creature that hasn't been fully categorized by science and has found itself in the middle of a mystery trying to figure out what it is. And I think I would fall in that last category, more of a realist. The realist looks at all aspects to try and solve the mystery. How does the creature in question link up with other known animals in its area? Could it possibly be an already known creature with a simple genetic mutation that causes it to look different? Or are there any historical legends or folklore that may help to pinpoint when this creature started showing up? Can the testings of its bones help reveal the DNA of other creatures within its genus? Hang on a second, the last one doesn't sound right. We're told that in order for a creature to be a cryptid, it has to be unknown. It can't be a cryptid if it's a skeleton and has been discovered and categorized. Can it? Well, actually, the answer is yes. Yes, it can. In the early days of North America, long before the creation of countries and state borders, the Native American tribes, collectively known as the Sioux, also as Lakota, made their homes from the present-day border of the U.S. in Canada, all the way down to Nebraska and Iowa. Within this wide range was the Sioux tribe known as the Santee Dakota, a tribe that primarily resided within the eastern area of what is modern-day North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and northern Iowa. It is from this tribe that the legend of the Thunder Horse stems. As with all Native American tribes and First Nation peoples, the Santee Dakota had legends that explained how things in the world around them were created and how they worked. One of these legends, which originated from before the 1600s, talked about how thunderstorms were created by the ancient thunder beast known as the Thunder Horse. The Santee Dakota legend told of how the Thunder Horse was a creature from away back in time, but had disappeared from the open plains around their camps before their arrival. Instead of simply disappearing and never coming back, the Thunder Horse moved up into the heavens, where it would occasionally reappear on Earth to hunt the bison that occupied the dry plains. When the Thunder Horse decided it was time to hunt the bison, it would leap down from the heavens and would create thunder when its hoofs hit the earth. The mighty beast would then chase the bison across the open plains in hopes of striking and killing it with its large hoofs. As the Thunder Horse gave chase, the bison would run with such speed that their hooves would create sparks over the rocks in the dry ground. These sparks would result in the lightning that accompanied the growing storm. As the chase progressed, a large amount of rain would follow behind, thus creating the full thunderstorm. Once the storm was in full force, the Thunder Horse would fall and its bones would turn to stone and lay flat upon the ground. These bones would then be found by hunting parties and brought back to camp, where the legend of the Thunder Horse would be retold. Now, you may be wondering, how does the Thunder Horse qualify as a cryptid, since it's obviously a story made up to explain where storms come from? Well, that's where it gets interesting. You see, after large and powerful storms, tribe members were actually finding large stone-like bones upon the earth. Bones that they did not recognize as belonging to any creature that they readily encountered. So an unknown creature was leaving bones behind that could not be explained. That pretty well sums up what a cryptid is, wouldn't you guys agree? But the story doesn't end there, because when American paleontologist Othniel Marsh heard about the legend of the Thunder Horse and the accompanying tales of large unknown bones, well, in 1875 he needed to find out if there was any truth to that story. When Marsh arrived in the Badlands area of South Dakota and began asking about the legend of the Thunder Horse, he was presented with an incredibly large jawbone from a tribe member. I love this name, guys. The tribe member's name was Young Man Afraid of His Horses. Can't make this stuff up. The given jawbone was not recognized as anything from any known animal in the area, and had within its molars nearly 3 inches wide. Okay, I take that back. The molars within the mouth of this beast was at least 3 inches wide. The young Sioux told Marsh that this was the jaw of a thunder horse and that more could be found within the area after a heavy rain. He was told that the rains were needed to soak the ground and cause the loose earth to slide off the hills and surrounding canyons to expose the bones below. With this information, Marsh set out with the team to discover the thunder horse for himself. After a few days and a few storms, Marsh and his team were successful in locating the bones. The thunder horse had been found. Not long after determining the area was a good location for further research, the team got to work digging up as many bones as possible. After weeks of digging in the Badlands, the team had uncovered a complete skeleton. The creature they had unearthed, when fully assembled at a later time, stood nearly 8 foot tall at the shoulders, was nearly 16 feet in length, had a Y-shaped horn upon its head, 4 toes on each foot, and looked almost like a rhinoceros. As it turns out, the creature that they had dug up was known as a Megacerops, a rhinoceros-like creature that was related to horses and went extinct 33 to 38 million years ago. Although the Megacerops had already been discovered and named by Joseph Leidy in 1870, it still lacked a proper family order. Because of this, Marsh created the family order Brontotheridae, which, when translated from Greek, means thunder beast. Marsh chose this name as a way to pay homage to the Sioux legend of the thunder horse. So there you go, another incredibly intriguing cryptid. How exactly does it qualify as a cryptid? Well, the reason is the creature was at one point known only through legends and stories, but was very much real to those who had experienced it in some way. Much like many other cryptids, the thunder horse could have long remained nothing but a legend if it wasn't for the work of one man who made it his goal to find out if the story was based in fact or fiction. And as we know, the city of Troy I've brought up a number of times because we were told, mankind was told for many, many, many decades that was just a myth. It didn't exist. It was just part of the Greek lore, right? Well, one man decided to follow that lore and actually found the city of Troy. There's a whole lot more truth in these, quote, myths, end quote, than is originally given credence for by most of the normies, if you know what I mean. The thunder horse could have long remained nothing but a legend if it was, in fact, only just a legend, if not for finding and doing the work to get these bones and figure out, because it is interesting that the earth had to fall away for these bones to be brought to the surface, right? That actually makes a lot of sense. The very practice is what we call cryptozoologists. This is what they do, is try to solve the mystery surrounding an unknown creature. You remember in our very pilot episode we talked about cryptids, and in the cryptids episode we brought up the fact how many times science has been absolutely wrong about cryptids, like the gorilla, which was considered a cryptid creature until 1902. The gorilla that we know and love today, according to science at one time, did not and could not exist. The same is true for the Komodo dragon. I don't remember what year that was finally given a status as a real creature, but the person that found it and reported it to modern scientists of the time were told that no lizard of that size could physically exist. They told them that it was absolutely impossible. Turns out the Komodo dragon is a very real creature. Another creature that science got wrong, as we know, and I can see this one, okay? So think of the duck-billed platypus, right? Could you imagine being the man trying to describe to somebody else when you first seen a duck-billed platypus? It's this little thing that looks kind of like a beaver, but it's got the mouth of a duck, and it's got this weird tail. Yeah, I don't think anyone would believe you. And it's poisonous too. Yeah, I gotta say, somebody come up to me and started describing some of these creatures. I don't know, I'd be a little worried about them. I wouldn't totally dismiss them as I am a paranormal researcher, but I'd be a little worried about them. You know what I mean? I'd be asking what kind of drugs they had done. And they were told, when the person that found the duck-billed platypus once again was told that it could not be a real creature. However, we found out many years later, as we know, it is very much a real creature. There's also the Lake Superior god of the waters in North Dakota, also known as the Great Lakes Merman. This story takes us back to 1782, when a man named Vincent St. James, 3 unnamed companions, and an old Ojibwe woman, who was only traveling with the party as a means to reach a separate destination, departed from the Grand Portage region on their way to Thunder Bay. As he was making his way back towards the camp that they had set up, Saint Germain decided to take in the side of the Lake Superior one final time before sunset. When he turned to stare upon the majesty of Lake Superior, the seasoned woodsman instead laid his eyes upon something he had never once seen before. For there in the water, roughly an acre or 3/4 of an acre distant from the bank where he stood, end quote, Saint Germain witnessed a creature which appeared to him to be half human and half animal. Utterly amazed by what he was seeing, the fur trader approached the edge of the water and stared at the mysterious being for what is recorded as being 3 to 4 uninterrupted minutes. The creature followed suit and stared right back. Saint Germain, in his account to 2 court judges, described the strange creature as having a body which resembles that of a human down to its waist, which stopped at the waterline. Unfortunately for Vincent St. Germain, which makes me wonder if it isn't the same one as the Count de Saint Germain. Anyway, unfortunately, he was unable to see what the creature looked like below the water. The visible part of the body was described as appearing like that of a child around 7 or 8 years old. It was relatively small in size, and for some unknown reason held its long and odd-looking arm up in the air. The creatures stared at each other for some time until the rest of the group caught up with them. When they did, Saint Germain's idea went from intrigue and wonder to trying to capture this creature. He raised his gun in the air, focused it at the creature, and before he had a chance to do anything, the old Ojibwe woman ran up and grabbed him by the clothing, pulling him to the ground. After the scuffle, Saint Germain stood up and asked why she had stopped him from killing the spirit. The old woman explained that the creature, and we have heard this before actually, he so casually decided he wanted as a trophy, was in reality known throughout the area as the god of the waters. She knew very well what this was. This mythical being in the Ojibwe language is a type of water spirit that is believed to be somewhat of a cross between the classic depiction of a merfolk and sirens. They're said to possess childlike bodies, but with adult features, and occasionally are seen covered in some sort of strange-looking hair. The Ojibwe legends claim that they live within the rocky crevices and caves surrounding Lake Superior. So we have run across this creature actually before. I again don't remember which state it was in, but the person that tried to capture that one was told that it would cause a major storm just for what the person had done up to that point, and within a couple of days a major storm maybe it was a couple of hours. Anyway, a major storm appeared either way, so it was true to legend. And this seems like another one of these same type of creatures, right? The water god creatures. I've always said when it comes to Native Americans reporting something or even knowing what these creatures are, I put 100% faith in that. A lot more than I do most anyone else's reports, because the Native Americans didn't have time to make stuff up or reason to make stuff up. They wanted to survive, not play in imaginary land. So their stories, in my opinion, are much more true to form than most. And we've seen that also with our story earlier on the Thunder Horse. But as you guys know, that music means we have to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half of Paranormal State of Mystery, North Dakota, after these messages. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
The unity of all who dwell their only sure defense.
In 1854, men, women, and children walked into this little white schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin, divided. When they emerged, they were united. United in freedom. This year on March 20th, Ripon Rabbit Hole and thefreedomflame.com will rekindle the spirit that keeps the flame alive in our annual celebration. We invite everyone, regardless of your political affiliation or location in the world, to join us in this year's celebration.
May the light of freedom, coming to all darkened lands, flame brightly, until at last the darkness is no more.
Register now for event details at thefreedomflame.com.
Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's Darkwolf's Den radio show, State of Mystery for North Dakota? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to put your thumb in the air. And if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to use a finger. Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den will return again tomorrow night. As his Freedom Flame series continues, join him for an evening of treacherously treasonous traitors. That's tomorrow night, Thursday, February 24th. It starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. Be here or be square. I'll return again Friday night. Come along with me as we tell the fascinating tale of Lincoln's secret meetings. That's right, good old Abe had a few closed-door secret meetings that are guaranteed to fascinate you. Come along with me. That journey continues Friday, February 25th. Then, Saturday night, an unusual look at the Underground Railroad. That's right. We're going to explain the theory of why there's no maps showing Wisconsin on the Underground Railroad. There may just be a good reason for that. That's Saturday, February 26th. And then we'll end out the weekend right together with you. A look at military magic. We'll dive down the fascinating rabbit hole of military magic and deceptive illusions designed to fool the audience in the theater of war. That will end out the weekend right together with you Sunday, February 27th. However, it's going to be an extended weekend. That's right. Tuesday is the first Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means. Tuesday night videos returns in the Backstage VIP Lounge over at our website, rippinrabbithole.com. Join your host, Raider Champion, as he will be presenting A Night with Elvis exploring the music and videos of the king of rock and roll, plus music trivia. Happens exclusively in the backstage VIP lounge at ripinrabbithole.com. Hop on over there if you haven't done so already. Make sure to sign up for your exclusive backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you access to Tuesday night videos as well as Down the Rabbit Hole, our privatized social media network, where the conversation continues after the show. We'll return back to tonight's topic for Wednesday, February 23rd. Another State of Mystery with your host, Jerry Hicks, and the DarkWolf's Den Show. North Dakota. Very strange and mysterious. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, home of the Freedom Flame.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining in, we have went over in the first half a number of strange cryptids in North Dakota, all of them, interestingly enough, connected to the Native Americans. I love when we have a show like that, right? And coming up now in the second half, we're going to dive down into the haunted places in North Dakota.
The railroad tracks. The railroad tracks in Newtown have become the stuff of local legend due to frequent paranormal occurrences. Those who walk the tracks, especially at night, report extreme temperature changes, shadowy apparitions, and the feeling of being watched.
And of course, train tracks at night just have an overall spooky element to them anyway, at least in my opinion.
The most famous occurrence here is a ghostly red light that floats along the tracks and throughout the treetops. It has been known to chase people, so if you stop by to explore this hot spot, be careful.
As we know, this is not the first time we have heard this type of haunting, as there's a number of train tracks that have the odd yellow, orange, red, multicolored light balls that seem to float and fly around them. Some do tend to interact with humans. It's been noted by some scientists that this could be ball lightning, but I would disagree, honestly. But who knows, it could be a natural phenomenon, it might be a haunting. Either way, it's strange.
Dickinson, North Dakota. The town of Dickinson was founded in 1881 and has become notorious for several spooky hauntings throughout the years. In the McGilvray house, activity is so strong that it was under renovation for 20 years due to the fact that owners kept moving before they were complete.
That has definitely got to be some intense activity to have delayed the renovations of the house for 20 years. That's some extremely interactive poltergeist-style haunting, right?
At St. Joseph's Hospital, patients and staff report disembodied voices, call buttons pressed from empty rooms, and the morgue elevator acting as if it has a mind of its own.
A hospital is one place that I would definitely expect, without a doubt, to be haunted. It has a lot of chance of the perfect haunting recipe. High trauma, high emotion, high chance of a haunting, right? It definitely, in a hospital, more likely than not, has a strong amount of emotion, a strong amount of trauma for sure. Strong chance of activity of haunting. And The call buttons going on and off by themselves, that's creepy. The elevator having a mind of its own, that's creepy. Those two, though, honestly, if I'm really being honest, I could argue that that is just electrical issues. Now, flip that around, I could also say that those electrical issues could be being caused by ghostly activity, so it's kind of a roundabout argument on that one, isn't it? But the disembodied voices, that I cannot easily explain away in any way, shape, or form. So either way, there's still something very active at this hospital, but there's even more in this strange little town.
Also reported throughout town is a tall, shadowy figure that has been known to follow lone walkers at night. It has frightened some to such a degree that police were called and searches held for this ominous being.
On top of all of the other crazy hauntings in this town, you have a shadow being. That somehow, it just seems like par for the course with this strange town, but this town seems to be a paranormal researcher's dream. So if you guys are into paranormal research, we have any teams listening, make your way on up to North Dakota. It sounds like they've got full towns worth of research, and that's not even exaggerating. Let's see what else they have in North Dakota that is haunted.
White Lady Lane. 132nd Street in Leroy runs for miles, crossing the Pembina River, and has been dubbed White Lady Lane by locals over the years. Those brave enough to walk the stretch at night report otherworldly lights floating amongst the fields and trees, orbs in photographs, and the feeling of being watched.
If I didn't know any better, I would almost say that was fae folk and not ghosts, right? You got the lights floating around, the paranormal lights floating around, you've got orbs being caught, and you've got the feeling of being watched, almost like the little orbs flying around or watching you like they would be fairies or fae folk, right? I don't know, just a suggestion.
The most famous apparition here is the ghost of a young woman in a white dress, believed to be the spirit of a woman who was murdered by a peddler denied her hand in marriage. She is usually seen walking the road near the bridge, a sad look on her face.
All jokes aside, the lady in white ghost has actually been a repeated phenomenon over a number of states, and this is a quite common ghost, surprisingly enough, that usually is walking beside the highway or something of that nature.
Bismarck, North Dakota. The city of Bismarck was founded in 1872 and plays host to several haunted hotspots worth checking out.
Here we go, paranormal researchers, yet another full town to research.
At the Apple Creek Country Club, the spirit of a former chef appears and disappears randomly, seemingly unaware of the living.
This is a concept that I've discussed on the show here before and even brought up on the IMEC episode that we had earlier today. If you guys missed it, check out our International Mandela Effect Conference YouTube page for Season 2, Episode 2. But I was speaking about this same concept here. The ghost doesn't even seem to recognize that there are regular people around them. It's almost like they're in their own world, literally their own reality, just as physical as you and I, but to us, they look like ghosts, like seeing through a very thin veil, right?
In the Peacock Alley Bar, the spirits of several guests who passed inside the connected Patterson Hotel like to swing in for drinks. Finally, the governor's mansion is said to be haunted by the ghost of Governor Briggs, who died in the master bedroom. He is reported to cause doors to open and close on their own, curtains to pull, and disembodied voices and footsteps throughout the halls. The mansion is so haunted, in fact, that the butler refuses to sleep inside the house alone, preferring a hammock outside instead.
So you've got the governor who still seems to be attempting to govern from the other side. Interesting, this case file. Like, the butler is so afraid of the ghost that he won't even sleep alone in the house. That's got to be an incredibly active haunted area right there.
Black Tongue Hill. Black Tongue Hill is located about 15 miles south of Fort Yates and has an absolutely terrifying local legend surrounding it. It's said to be haunted by the ghost of Lady Blacktongue, a woman who used to live on the hill before being struck and killed by a car on her walk home. It was believed that she was a witch or demon.
I don't know about demon. I don't think it would be that easy to kill a demon just by hitting it with your car. However, witchcraft we know is very practiced among a number of people around the world.
And it's said that she materializes to this day in the form of a woman shrouded in black. Those brave enough to climb the hill at night have reported the smells of cauterized flesh and sulfur, disembodied footsteps, and shrieks in the night.
Now, I will admit, the only case files that I have ever seen that include the smell of sulfur have always and always been demonic cases. So there may very well be something to the spirit being demonic, although I would still stop shy of saying it was a demon in flesh, right?
North Dakota State University.
As you guys who have been listening to the show for some time know, if there's a haunted college in a state, we do our best to cover it, and it looks like North Dakota has one waiting for us. What kind of haunted activity happens on this campus?
NDSU in Fargo was founded in 1890 and holds several haunted hotspots on campus. In Ceres Hall, a man hung himself during World War II, and his translucent body can be seen hanging from that very water pipe every so often.
Now, these are starting to become really intriguing. We've had a couple times where the people have been seen repeatedly climbing up to the top of a steeple or chapel or some type of tall building and jumping off. And then we have these where the person is seen in their final moments of death. This time, of course, being the hanging. So, a new one on me as far as trying to qualify it. It's not the first time we've seen it in case studies, but I didn't realize before how many case studies actually have this element. I wonder if it would have to do with the suicide factor. That's interesting.
In the basement, a nasty presence is said to instill fear, while the second floor is plagued by another dark entity that is known for scaring students.
So this whole building seems to have a lot of dark presences for one reason or another, but let us not forget North Dakota, as we learned from the stories of the first half, had a large native population, so whatever horrors and atrocities carried on there, I could imagine would have definitely stained the timeline, for a lack of better words.
In Minard Hall, there was a double murder, and it's said that the spirits remain, causing orbs in photographs, objects to move on their own, and the feeling of an unseen presence directly behind those who are alone.
I don't know if you guys have ever felt that before, that there's a presence near you, but you turn around and there's absolutely nobody there whatsoever. That has got to be one of the creepiest feelings in the entire world, in this wolf's opinion.
Haven Sanatorium. The Haven Sanatorium in Dunseith was originally built in 1909 to meet the need of the rising tuberculosis epidemic and is widely considered one of the most haunted sanatoriums in the U.S. Staff, patients, and visitors throughout the years have reported disembodied whispers throughout the halls, an inexplicable feeling of terror, and the full-bodied apparitions of doctors and some very disturbed patients.
As we said about a earlier case file also, I do believe, the hospitals and these medical facilities, these are the places that I expect to be haunted, right? You've got a lot of trauma, a lot of emotion, and a lot of chances for haunting activity.
The ghost of a teenager that was exploring and fell down an elevator shaft is the sounds of ghostly babies crying.
Let's be honest, the sound of ghost babies crying, that's deeply disturbing in my book.
Figures in windows and mirrors, and the sounds of chains and screams at night.
incredibly active haunting activity in a place that is already disturbing, being that it's a sanitarium, right? This is not exactly a Disney fun park by any means, but it's starting to sound like the entire state of North Dakota is just one great big paranormal playground. I was unaware of how much paranormal this state actually had within its borders.
The University of North Dakota.
For those keeping count at home, that is two haunted universities for the state of North Dakota. That seems to be the average across all the states, right? 1 to 2 across, all of them. Of course, some have some don't, but the average seems to be.
The University of North Dakota in Grand Forks was founded in 1883 and harbors multiple haunts that make it the perfect college if you're interested in the paranormal. In the women's dorm, the spirit of a girl who got locked out in the winter and froze to death can be seen clawing at the window, her skin completely blue.
And again, you have the high trauma, high emotion, high chance of haunting. It could not be fun by any means to freeze to death outside of a building, so we should not be surprised by this. However, the description sounds like something right out of a movie.
In the computer labs, students report whiffs of strange perfume, strange gusts of wind when all the windows are closed, and the feeling of being constantly watched. Lastly, in Stature Hall, a ghostly arm can be seen opening doors and moving things about.
Now, what we normally don't get is a ghostly arm. Normally, we just see the movement or activity within the object or around the object. It's rare that we actually get a body part associated with said object, but all of these hauntings have been pretty darn strange tonight. I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard of a whole town having a haunting issue. So researchers out there, if you're interested in finding some place to do some paranormal research, may I suggest pretty well any place within the borders of North Dakota. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this state is a definite paranormal state of mystery? Or do you think in the end that we're barking up the wrong tree? All you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, February the 23rd, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry. The weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Make sure you come back tomorrow, Thursday, February 24th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as we come back with another episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show Freedom Flame Series, as we discuss the treacherously treasonous traitors throughout time, and maybe even a couple in modern times, right? Lord knows there's a good selection to choose from. Also, make sure you are tuning in to Rip'n Common Sense Radio Network at 5 a.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific, as we do the Censored Freedom Show, your Patriot morning news update in 30 minutes or less. Also on Friday, February 20th, by the way, Censored Freedom is 7 days a week. On Friday, February 25th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back to the airwaves with another episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. This go around, he's going to kick it off talking about Lincoln's secret meetings. Now, this is something I don't know a whole lot about, so I am very intrigued to see what lies down this rabbit hole. And we're going to find out on Friday, February 25th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central. Then on Saturday, February 26th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, all main primetime shows here start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central. He'll be discussing the Underground Railroad, a very important part of American history. The original Freedom Railroad, of course. It's interesting, as he mentioned in the break earlier, that Wisconsin is not on the map of the Underground Railroad, and I cannot wait to find out why. Then he'll close the weekend out right with you guys on Sunday, February 27th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, as he discusses military magic. And we know the military uses a number of diversionary and illusionary tactics in wartime. And in the theater of war, as AJ also mentioned in the break, a lot of these acts are needed to win. And military magic is going to be the topic of AJ on Sunday, February 27th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central. Then that doesn't round the weekend out, though, folks, as we have an extended weekend or an early week next week. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but Tuesday Night Videos is coming up on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central. But that is not a radio show. That is exclusive to the Backstage Lounge on the rippinrabbithole.com. Come on back for a night of trivia and music videos based on the King of Rock himself, Elvis Presley. That's right. I know I am quite excited. I might be able to get one answer right if I'm lucky. It is a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun back there every TNV, and I hope to see you all there. And that, once again, will round the weekend out right. And if you want to join us for the TNV, make sure you hop on over to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is rippinrabbithole.com. Over there, you're of course going to find the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, but you can't go through any of the site without signing up for the VIP pass, and that is absolutely free, always has been and always will be. So make sure you hop on over and sign up for that. Check out all the fun we have to offer on that site, including the Down the Rabbit Hole section. That is the exclusive socialized or specialized privatized social media section of the website. Lots of fun over there as the rabbits drop information that isn't censored and shadow banned. That's right. Also, make sure you check out thefreedomflame.com. That is The Freedom Flame, TheFreedomFlame.com, as you'll find the story of the Freedom Flame and the much important symbol that is to this country. And we will be celebrating that, as you guys know, coming up March 20th, right around the corner. But folks, that is it for me. I've got to get out of here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah, that's right.
To dwell in freedom is their only sure defense.
In 1854, men, women, and children walked into this little white schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin, divided. When they emerged, they were united. United in freedom. This year on March 20th, Ripon Rabbit Hole and thefreedomflame.com will rekindle the spirit that keeps the flame alive in our annual celebration. We invite everyone, regardless of your political affiliation or location in the world, to join us in this year's celebration.
May the light of freedom, coming to all darkened lands, flame brightly, until at last the darkness is no more.
Register now for event details at thefreedomflame.com.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis.
Let's go, Brandon.
What a sinner. Is it in her?
Let's go, Brandon. FYT, FJB, honk honk. Let's all be free. Let's go, Brandon.
What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays.
Honk honk indeed. Make that a crime and I'll say it times 3. Honk honk. Let's go, Brandon.
What a widow.
FJB and FYT.
When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her?
Can't figure out if he's talking about Kamala or Joe Blow. Either way, they're both traitorous, don't you know? Brandon, let's go, let's go. Brandon lives in a wonderland of confusion.
Is this real or just illusion?
Sloppy Joe.
Manifestation or
not sleepy, sloppy.
Illusion. Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's be free. Let's go, Brandon. FJB, honk, honk. Truckers around the world gonna do what they have to do to set us all free. I don't know about you, but I stand with the truckers for me. Honk, honk, indeed. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time. Make sure you check out Censored Freedom, 5 a.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. Every night. Patriot